Roger Federer's rise to the top of the tennis world was slower compared to some of his contemporaries. Djokovic was progressing on all Grand Slams more or less equally, and it took him about 2 years to reach his first Grand Slam semi-final, after which he never looked back. Nadal literally won his first Grand Slam at age 19, while that was his sixth appearance on all Grand Slams. He picked Roland Garros with the confidence of a woman laying eyes on her perfect man and saying, "I've been waiting for you my entire life. You are mine from now till forever." I know I could have gone with the male character finding his perfect woman, but sometimes men would like women to initiate. Seriously, success rate is like over 90%. Federer's progress was slower, because even when he reached quarterfinals or round of 16 at Grand Slams, next year he would lose back-to-back in the first round. Like he went back on all of his progress. His takeoff was not linear. Even before winning his first Wimbledon in 2003, he lost in the first round of Roland Garros just to double-check that he hates that lifestyle and wants to abandon it forever. Federer's potential was there. Everybody knew that. But there was a fear that he will become one of those athletes that have the talent, they can perform when the pressure is not too high, but on the biggest stage, when they play for the biggest trophy, for gold, they cave. In 2003, Federer finally proved that he can do it on the biggest stage. In the eyes of sports media and general public, Federer's status changed over the years. From young talent with a lot of potential, but a fear that he will not be able to fulfill that potential, to closest to perfection that we have ever seen on tennis court, to the GOAT after breaking Sampras's Grand Slam record, for some people even before that, to the member of Big Three, and for some people still a GOAT, after Nadal and Djokovic started winning regularly as he was, caught up to him, or even surpassed him on a number of Grand Slams. Federer's senior career dates back to 1998 and ends in 2022. That is 24 years of tennis, success, records, rivalries, and influence on and off the court. In some of these seasons he was more successful than in others, but it is generally accepted, and numbers back that up, that the period between Australian Open of 2004 all the way to the US Open of 2007 were the best years of Federer's career. This 3-part video series is a story about that period of Federer's career. Roger Federer ended 2003 season strong, winning Tennis Masters Cup and finishing world number 2. He continued winning at the start of 2004 season with great performance in Australian Open. It was a phenomenal tournament for him. He beat players like Hewitt, Ferrero, Nalbandian, and in the final, Russian heavy hitter Marat Safin. It was one-sided final in straight sets, 7-6, 6-4, 6-2. Federer only lost 2 sets the entire tournament. This tournament got Federer to ranking number 1 in the world. The narrative around his greatness and his talent started to take shape. Continuing 2004 season, Federer was successful in retaining his ranking number 1 by winning Masters tournaments like Indian Wells and Hamburg. But during Roland Garros, his weaknesses on clay got exposed and he lost in the third round. Although in his defense, his opponent was all-time great clay court player and former 3-time Roland Garros champion Gustavo Kuerten. After Roland Garros, he enrolled in a grass court season and began with winning Halle without dropping a set. His second Grand Slam title of the season was Wimbledon. Just like Australian Open, his Wimbledon run was also impressive, even though this time he dropped 3 sets instead of 2, so naturally everybody got worried that something is wrong. Roger Federer defended his Wimbledon title by beating again Hewitt, this time in quarterfinal, but also players like Sebastian Grosjean and Ivo Karlovic. There was also a fascinating win against Falha in the second round, 6-1, 6-2, 6-love, and it only took him 54 minutes. In the final, he beat world number 2 Andy Roddick 4-6, 7-5, 7-6, 6-4. It was prime Andy Roddick competitive final, but Roddick's nightmares are white sheet of paper with picture of Roger Federer on it, and it's only going to get worse from here on out. To Halle and Wimbledon, he added wins in Gstaad and Canada Masters. That means that he won 4 tournaments in a row on 3 different surfaces with 23-0 record. Before Herbert, he beat him in a Cincinnati first round. US Open title came with a little bit more adversity in earlier rounds, mostly from his quarterfinal clash against all-time great Andrew Agassi. It was a tough 5-set victory. Henman in the semis was an easy win, but a especially easy win came in the finals. At this point, Roger played Hewitt at Australian Open in Wimbledon that season. Both times Australian got a set from those matches, but this time it was a different story. 6-love, 7-6, 6-love. Hewitt was contemplating a story how his evil twin brother was on a court that day to make him look bad on purpose. Joking, of course, great champion and a player Hewitt was, but at this point it was obvious that Roger Federer is becoming a force that the tennis world has never seen before.
Come into this tournament 14-1 against all of the other opponents here. By far, you've got to be the overwhelming favorite here.
I'd rather know myself that I can actually beat all these guys. And I think the opponents, they know that also in the back of their minds, that they have to play great tennis to beat me.
At the end of the day, sometimes you got to live and die, on the edge of the sword against, a guy such good as Roger.
To regain number one, what do you think you should do?
Beat Roger more.
You talk about the world's number one and how damn good Federer is.
Yeah, but he's extraordinary tennis player. I mean, he achieved unbelievable at the age of 23. The way he's playing is just, he can be one of the best of all times.
Well, it's normal. I'm the number one in the world, so everybody wants to beat that guy, and it's going to be interesting to see who's going to win this one.
Tennis Masters Cup had Federer playing in a group stage against Gaston Gaudio, Leighton Hewitt and Carlos Moya. He ended up winning all three of those in-group stage matches, and he played Safin in semis. First set of that match was simple, 6-3 for Federer. Second set tied the record for the longest tiebreak in history. It lasted 26 minutes, and it was 20-18 for Federer. Safin saved 7 match points, Federer saved 6 set points. On that tournament, Safin was working with Federer's former coach Peter Lundgren. Their collaboration and Safin's performance on the court will reach its peak 2.5 months later in Australia. Final was against Hewitt. It was played on 2 instead of 3 sets. Match ended 6-3, 6-2 for Federer, proving once more that when Federer is in form, Hewitt is not on his level. Federer ended the season with 11 titles, became first player since Mats Wilander to win 3 out of 4 Grand Slams in a calendar year. When it comes to other bigger tournaments, he also won 3 Masters events: Indian Wells, Hamburg and Cincinnati, and of course Tennis Masters Cup. In 2005 season, Federer first played Doha. On his way to the title, he played against only top 50 players. Average ranking of his opponent was 34, and he did not drop a set. He actually didn't lose more than 4 games in a set, beating Ljubicic in a final 6-3, 6-1. That was his first out of 3 matches in the final that he played that season against his future coach. 2005 Australian Open was 100 years old. 60 years of amateur and 40 years of professional or open-era competition. Federer cruised to the quarterfinals without dropping a set. At this point, it was a normal thing for him. In the quarterfinals, he played against Agassi. Many believe that American, if anywhere than in Melbourne, could put up a good fight, but match was an easy win for Federer, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4. Semi-finals match was against Safin on Russian's 25th birthday. Federer won the first set 7-5, but Safin came back and won the second 6-4. Even though Federer found himself winning the third set again 7-5, it was obvious that after a long time, Federer was properly challenged on a tennis court. Safin matched Federer's skill level displayed on a court, making the Swiss nervous. Safin went through his usual antics of throwing the racket on the floor or in the air, firing the ball high in the air, but still managed to keep his composure and played every point with focus and determination. All of that combined, it seemed like it affected Federer in a negative way, and he felt more pressure and nervousness because of it. Everything culminated in a 4th set tiebreak when Federer had a match point at 6-5. Federer was serving, and on the second serve got to the net. Safin tried to get past by him, but Federer caught Safin's shot and played backhand volley. Safin returned the ball. Federer played another volley right into the Safin, and Russian did the only thing that he could. He lobbed Federer. And in that moment, Federer played a twinner, low percentage shot. Ironically, he's going to become famous later on for that shot. But in that moment, the shot was executed poorly, and Safin won the point. Looking at Federer's reaction right after that moment of the shot, maybe even Federer himself was embarrassed by his own decision.
Eyes the final once more.
Please, right place. Thank you.
Could they come any better on match point? Safin hangs in there.
What is he doing with this shot, though? That's just extremely low percentage. He can't believe it.
That was the first and the last time Federer had a match point in that match. Safin led 5-2 in the fifth set. Federer came back, but at the end, Federer lost 7-5, 4-6, 7-5, 6-7, 7-9. In February and March, Federer played 4 tournaments: Rotterdam, Dubai, and Sunshine Doubles, winning all 4 of them. One important feature of a great and dominant player like Federer is that they have players that they can beat repeatedly. Matches against those players always give them success. In the stretch of those 4 tournaments, that player was Ivan Ljubicic. Federer beat him in a Rotterdam final, Dubai final, and in round of 16 at Indian Wells. That stretch he also played some great players like Agassi, Yuzhny, Fish, Davydenko, Ferrero, Cañas, and Hewitt. He had some extremely close matches that he won by 2 set point difference in a third set tiebreak, but Federer's composure in key moments was level above everybody's, playing his best tennis in the most important moment again and again. In the Miami final, he was 2 sets down but managed to win at the end, 2-6, 6-7, 7-6, 6-3, 6-1 against none other than Rafael Nadal. During clay court season he played Monte Carlo, Hamburg and Roland Garros. As a world number 1 and the fact that he lost only 1 match so far in the season, everybody saw him as a favorite to win French Open. But nobody could have predicted such an extraordinary rise of Rafael Nadal. Federer lost in quarterfinals of Monte Carlo to Gasquet, but beat him in Hamburg final, 6-3, 7-5, 7-6. Full of confidence ahead of Roland Garros, Federer had every right to be optimistic about the tournament that he's seen the least success on. But he would have been stopped in the semifinals by a man who will become one of the most important people in his career. Tennis players are oftentimes asked what tennis legend from the past would they want to play against, and they say McEnroe, Lendl, Becker, Sampras, Borg, Agassi, what have you. I always find myself answering the question differently. I would say, don't give me legends. Give me somebody who was ranked 47. I want to win. I can still admire the legends without playing against them. Roger Federer appreciated and admired Nadal, but if Nadal never became such a king that he did, I don't think Roger would lose sleep. But without Nadal, there would be no telling how Federer's career would look like. Federer and Nadal made each other better players, but also they became friends. How to beat Nadal in Roland Garros was one of the greatest riddles Federer had to solve. In 2005 semifinals was first out of 6 of their meetings at the French Open. The thing that Australian Open and Roland Garros semifinals of that year had in common is that Federer played against birthday boys both times. First Safin with his 25th and then Nadal with 19th birthday. Superstitious people might say Federer was cursed. First set was atypical for a man's game at this level, even on clay. There were 6 breaks altogether. Federer lost his serve 4 times. Nadal took first set 6-3. In the second set, Federer broke Nadal early and the one more time, giving him 5-1 lead. Nadal managed to bring 1 break back, but Federer stayed calm and served out the second set 6-4. In the opening games of the third set, Federer was a better player. He stroked the ball with more confidence, he sent forehands deep into the court almost on the line. He even made a backhand cross-court winner that made audience cheer with delight. But what will later on be recognized as a common pattern of a federal rivalry, Nadal, like a fast-approaching violent storm, could change everything in a matter of minutes. He broke Federer's serve in the 6th game of the third set. Federer did not waste time and broke Nadal right the next game, but his momentum was gone. And with the result being 5-4 for Nadal, Federer was faced with another pressure situation. Federer saved 2 set points before failing to save the third one, and Nadal was now leading 2-1. In the 4th set, Federer had a break advantage, but in the 6th game, Nadal leveled the score and then broke Federer one more time to finish the match. 3-6, 6-4, 4-6, 3-6. Towards the end of the match, Federer, just like against Safin, became nervous and angry with himself, which means damage was done. Nadal was in the final. Federer started grass court in Halle. His shaky first round against Soderling ended with him winning in 3 sets. After that he played 3 Germans and beat them in 2 sets each, and he played Safin in the final. Wimbledon was everything that Roland Garros was not. Familiar, easy, with no real competition. He only lost 1 set. Final against Roddick was 6-2, 7-6, 6-4. After the match, Roddick said that he is a better player, referring to himself, than he was a year ago, but also is Federer. He's above all of us by a lot, Roddick concluded. Between Wimbledon and US Open, Federer casually and effortlessly won Cincinnati, like I casually and effortlessly drink 2 liters of Coca-Cola Zero. Andy Roddick was again victim in the final 6-3, 7-5. In 2005 US Open, Federer beat familiar players that he often meets on Grand Slams, like Kiefer, Nalbandian and Hewitt. Opponent in the final was all-time great Andrew Agassi. Agassi's last chance at US Open title. He was 35 and the end was very near. Agassi had a tougher route to final, playing 3 5-set matches. Federer struck first, breaking Agassi in the 6th game of the first set, and after a couple of missed set points, it was actually 7, not couple. 1 deuce on Federer's serve. First set was 6-3 Federer. Second set was a different Agassi, and the crowd loved it. He broke Federer immediately in the second game with a series of deep returns into Roger's feet that pushed Roger deeper behind the baseline, which consequently opened up the court for Agassi, and he finished points with forehand winners or forced Federer to send ball wide or into the net. After Agassi saved 2 break points and hold serve, crowd completely erupted, and Agassi was better player on the court.
Performance of these 2 men.
That was some point.
He would broke Federer 1 more time to win second set 6-2. Also he would carry that momentum into the 3rd set. After both players would hold their serve, Agassi broke Federer in 6th game of the 3rd set. That is when Federer said enough is enough. Immediately broke Agassi, won the set in tiebreak 7-1, and after that broke Agassi twice in the 4th set to have 5-love lead. Final result was 6-3, 2-6, 7-6, 6-1. Back-to-back US Open titles were here. For the end of the season, Roger repeated previous season, played Bangkok in Tennis Masters Cup. In the Bangkok final, he played some random guy ranked 109th in the world that goes by the name of Andy Murray. I don't know who that guy is. But what happened in Tennis Masters Cup that year terrified me to my very core. To fully understand what happened at fateful tournament, you have to understand 2 things. First of all, Federer had to play 4 different players that tournament. And of all the people on this vast and troubled planet of 6.6 billion of them at the time, 3 of those 4 players were Argentinians. Mad props to Argentina for being such a force in tennis. Second thing, Roger Federer was very good. And compared to him, other players not so much. So it was to a great surprise when Argentinian Nalbandian beat him in the finals. And he didn't just beat him, he beat him after being 2 sets down. When I was watching that final, I could not make sense of it. Yes, Nalbandian was a very talented player, but Roger Federer was so better than everybody else that it made no sense to lose that match. Not to mention against a player who, by his own admission, did not touch the racket since the season ended for him 2 weeks ago. 7-6, 7-6 first 2 sets for Federer, and then 6-2, 6-1, 7-6 for Nalbandian. Nalbandian's talent fully shined through in the final, and it was one of the more impressive accomplishments in recent tennis history. More context to that story, though, is that Federer was fighting an injury from a couple of weeks ago, and he wasn't 100% ready for the tournament. There was also a lot of drama surrounding the tournament, with top players like Nadal, Hewitt, Agassi and Safin cancelling, so there was an added pressure on Federer to attend this event. Still, it was a phenomenal achievement from Nalbandian. For Federer, that meant that he lost 3 big tournaments that season: Australian Open, Roland Garros and Tennis Masters Cup. As for Nadal, he was injured and missed the tournament of the best 8, which will be a reoccurring theme for him, slowing down in the last quarter of the season. This was the first video of 3-part series I'm going to do about Roger Federer's prime. But if you thought the 2005 season was good for Federer, 2006 season will, and I have to quote Sheldon Cooper on this one, knock your socks off. Good luck getting them back on.
And it will knock your socks off. Good luck getting them back on.